Hi, I'm Bren.
And I'm Rad.
And we're astronomers at the ROG. Join us on a tour of the night sky for the month of November. We'll be using a cool program called Stellarium, which is a bit like a virtual planetarium. You can download this onto your own computer, and if you want the real planetarium experience, you could visit us at the observatory. Remember to take your photos of whatever you see and tweet them to us. Our Twitter handle is @ROGAstronomers. We have a few observing tips for you before we start. The best time to see objects is when they're at their highest point in the sky. This is because the light travels through less atmosphere and suffers less distortion. Unless you're looking at the moon, you must allow your eyes to adapt to the darkness. You can use a red torch if you need light, and also it's very important, once you're outside, looking up at the stars, you might get hooked just like us. So make sure you're dressed warmly for your stargazing session, and that way you can enjoy it more.
Okay, so we're going to show you the night sky at 8 o'clock, and the first thing to do is to find north. At the start of the month, the sun will set at around 4:30 in the afternoon. And as we move further into autumn, the sun will set earlier, which means more time for stargazing. Now the first thing you should do is find north, and you can do this by looking for the plough. This looks like a saucepan and it's very easy to find, even from light polluted London. And now the plough points to a star called Polaris, and it's also part of Ursa Major. Now you can't see the rest of the constellation from the city, it's just too faint. But once you've found Polaris, look directly down and you can see that you're facing north. If you watch the sky across the night, you'll see the stars appear to move. Facing north, they move anti-clockwise, and this is because our Earth is spinning. And if you have a DSLR camera, you may want to point it at Polaris and take a long exposure photo of the stars moving around the North Star. You will need to attach your camera to a tripod, just so that it stays completely still during the image capturing process. And once you've found the plough, you should look for Cassiopeia, an M or W shape made up of 5 stars. Stars that make up Cassiopeia are circumpolar. If we fast forward time, we see that they never rise or set from London, they are always above the horizon. And Cassiopeia can be used as an arrow as it points to interesting objects rising in the eastern sky.
Let's take a look at which objects are popping up above the eastern horizon in November. In the eastern sky there's a lot to see as the night progresses. At the start of the month, look for Perseus, which looks a bit like a wishbone made of stars. Close to Perseus and Pegasus, look for 2 globular clusters called M2 and M15. Both star clusters were discovered by a French astronomer called Maraldi in 1746, and 40 years later, William Herschel was able to resolve M2 into its constituent stars. William Herschel also discovered the planet Uranus and infrared radiation. He was a very busy man. Globular clusters contain very old red stars. These clusters are 12 to 13 billion years old. That's about 3 times the age of the solar system. They look like compact balls of diamonds, containing hundreds of thousands of stars. We don't know how or where they formed, but there seem to be hundreds of these clusters orbiting the Milky Way. The light from M15 takes 38,000 years to reach us.
To the right of Perseus, you will find the Great Square of Pegasus. Pegasus leads us to our nearest big galaxy, Andromeda, a beautiful spiral star city 1.5 times bigger than the Milky Way. And you can see Andromeda with the naked eye in the dark countryside far away from city lights. From the city, we suggest finding Andromeda with binoculars, or alternatively you could take a photograph of this part of the sky and look for the galaxy in your photo. Try taking a 10-second exposure and look for an elongated white disk with a central bright region. This is the nucleus of the galaxy, where most old stars are concentrated. Around the nucleus are spiral arms with younger, bluer stars, and the arms are the star factories of the galaxy. Now the disk of the galaxy is huge, and it actually stretches out across 4 degrees over the sky. This is about 8 times the size of our moon. Unfortunately, the outer parts of the galaxy are too faint to see, but we do know that Andromeda is approaching the Milky Way and it will eventually collide with us, so we will see more of the galaxy over the next few billion years. Now, below Perseus you will find two constellations, Auriga and Taurus. Look for the bright multiple star system Capella, and to the right of Auriga you will see Taurus the Bull. The red giant star Aldebaran is the brightest star in Taurus. We suggest taking a look at this dying star through binoculars to see its beautiful red colour. Within Taurus there are two open clusters to look for. Open clusters are different to globular clusters in that they don't contain as many stars and they aren't spherical like the globular clusters. Also, open clusters consist of younger, hotter and bluer stars and are found within the disk of the Milky Way, whereas globular clusters are found above and below the disk in the halo of our galaxy.
The two open clusters to look for are called the Pleiades and the Hyades. The Pleiades is a very famous cluster, often called the Seven Sisters, and it contains very hot blue stars, only 1/50th of the age of the Sun. The cluster will break up in the next 250 million years, which means we will lose the Pleiades from the night sky, and its stars will move to other parts of the galactic neighbourhood. Enjoy them while you can. The Hyades is the closest open cluster to us at 150 light years away. It contains hundreds of stars of similar age. It is thought that stars originated from the same nebula or stellar nursery. The cluster is about 625 million years old, 14% of the age of the Sun. Many stars have already left the Hyades, and it may originally have been more than twice the mass it is now. Later in the evening you will see two more constellations pop above the eastern horizon. Gemini the Twins can be seen after about 9:30 p.m. They rise earlier as we move towards the end of the month. The Twins, along with Orion the Greek hunter, mark the onset of winter and are glorious to look at in the cold, dark skies. The heads of the Twins are marked by the stars Castor and Pollux. Castor is 50 light years away and is actually a quadruple star system. Pollux is 34 light years away and is an old orange star cooler than the Sun. Pollux has at least one confirmed planet orbiting it. This planet will have to endure the next step in the life cycle of Pollux as it turns into a beautiful big planetary nebula, ejecting its outer layers into space over thousands of years.
Pollux is not the only star reaching the end of its life. If you look at the top left star of Orion, you will see it is a red-orange in colour. This is Betelgeuse, a red supergiant star that is pulsating rather erratically as it approaches the end of its time on the main sequence. It is less than 10 million years old. The Sun is 450 times older than this star, and fortunately for us, the Sun is nowhere near the end of its life. Big stars like Betelgeuse use up their hydrogen faster than the Sun and live very short lives. Betelgeuse is so big, if it was in the centre of our solar system, its surface would reach Jupiter, with Mercury, Venus and the Earth engulfed by this giant star. Eventually, Betelgeuse will explode into a supernova, leaving behind a very dense, compact star called a neutron star. We think it'll explode quite soon, possibly within the next million years, and when it does this, part of Orion will become incredibly bright. Now, if you look further down, you will see the sword of Orion hanging off the three stars that make up his belt. Look for the fuzzy pink patch in the centre of the sword. This is the Orion Nebula, a huge stellar nursery containing thousands of baby stars forming in their dusty cocoons. The nebula is over 1,000 light years away, and it's definitely worth looking at through a telescope.
Before the end of the month, make sure to catch Cygnus the Swan before it sets in the west. Deneb is the brightest star in this constellation, a blue-white supergiant about 1,500 light years away and 200,000 times more luminous than the Sun. Within Cygnus, look for the Dumbbell Nebula. This is a star that has evolved from a red giant to a planetary nebula and is letting go of most of its gas, forming a spectacular shape in the sky. It's been expanding for almost 10,000 years, and the leftover star is now a small, compact white dwarf that has stopped burning hydrogen and will cool down over billions of years to form a black dwarf. Vega can still be seen to the right of Cygnus in the constellation Lyra the Harp. Vega is midway through its life like the Sun, however it's only 1/10 of the age of the Sun. This is because it has a much bigger star, 2.5 times bigger than the Sun. Vega used to be our North Star 14,000 years ago. Our North Pole moves around in a circle due to an effect called precession. This means the Earth is wobbling on its axis. Polaris is now our North Star, but Vega will take that position again in the year 13,727. Now Jupiter starts to rise above the eastern horizon after 10 p.m. towards the end of the month. Jupiter is slowly moving into Leo, and you can find Leo by looking for a backwards question mark in the night sky. We suggest taking a look through binoculars to see the 4 largest moons. If you have a DSLR camera, you could take a photo of Jupiter and its moons with a long telephoto lens. The moons can be imaged this way without the use of a telescope. Try observing Jupiter on successive nights to see the moons change position as they orbit the planet. For more information about observing tips, take a look at the link at the end of this podcast.
And finally, there are 2 meteor showers occurring in November, the Torrids and the Leonids. On the 3rd of November, look towards the constellation Taurus to see the Torrid meteor shower. These are bits of cometary dust flying through our atmosphere and flaring up, and are sometimes called Halloween fireballs. They come from Comet Encke, a short-period comet from the Kuiper Belt, a region of our solar system that houses Pluto and other dwarf planets, along with hundreds of thousands of other comets. Comet Encke orbits the Sun once every 3.3 years, and it has a nucleus almost 5 kilometres wide. As it swings past the Sun, the icy nucleus breaks up, leaving behind a stream of debris which we plough into at the same time every year, giving rise to the Torrid meteor shower. On a dark, clear night away from city lights, you can expect to see around 10 bright meteors per hour. The best time to watch the shower will be after midnight. Dress warmly, as you are likely to be outside for quite a while, and we definitely recommend a flask of tea.
On the 17th, there will be another meteor shower called the Leonids towards Leo. These come from another comet called Tempel-Tuttle, which takes 33 years to orbit the Sun. The Leonids are a much stronger shower. You may see up to 50 meteors per hour. This cometary dust hits our atmosphere at speeds of around 72 kilometers per second, producing very bright streaks across the sky. Again, the best time to view them will be after midnight when Leo is above the horizon up until sunrise. There will be a waning crescent moon in Virgo below Leo. However, the thin moon shouldn't interfere too much with the shower, and it might make for some beautiful images. Remember to take your camera. So there's lots to look out for in the November sky, and as the sun sets earlier, there will be more time for stargazing. Remember to wear warm clothes before you look up!